Welcome to Peak, Train Like a Girl, a podcast by girls in sport for girls and coaches in sport. We are so glad you are here. We have an awesome conversation coming up for you today. But before we get started with our guest, Caitlin, I have to ask you, I have been trying to start baking. And what I mean by that is I'm opening a box and I'm adding some egg and oil and putting it in the oven.
Okay.
And I'm struggling with brownies. And somebody told me that it's because I cook in a metal pan. Do you have any insight for me?
Oh my gosh, Samson, I am so flattered that you're coming to me for this question because it's funny. I live with 3 other girls at the moment, and I actually get made fun of every single day for my cooking and baking abilities. So I am not going to be able to answer this question. Maybe we can leave it up to the audience. Maybe our special guest today can answer it, but I'm actually in the same boat as you.
Oh my goodness. It was so funny. I made them for, I don't know if people know, but I have adult twin girls and I made them brownies for their birthday. And one of my daughters legitimately asked, next time you should make the Ghirardelli brownies. And I said, these are the Ghirardelli. So clearly something is going on there. So yes, so that's a great call. Maybe Alexa, who is our guest today, can help us through that. I am so excited to chat with Alexa. There's nothing I like better than chatting with girls in sport, particularly girls who are in high school. I think they literally have their finger on the pulse of what is going on. And I think we have so much to learn and celebrate about them. Alexa is I believe she is a senior, which she might have to correct me on that, at Glenbard West High School in the state of Illinois. She is going to be competing at the next level at the University of Wisconsin. She will be a Badger. And I'm not sure she knows this, but one of the friends of our podcast, Brenna Detra, also ran at the University of Wisconsin. And she also was or is, I guess, once a Badger, always a Badger, is a Badger. And she has been so generous with her time, not only on the podcast, but also connecting with current athletes. I coach now. And so I think that's the one thing that is so incredible about the sport of cross country and track is athletes really want to give back to this community. So Alexa, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
We are glad you're here. Are you ready to get warmed up?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Long run or track workout?
Definitely long run.
I love that. Leggings or joggers?
Probably joggers.
I love that. Also, hoodie or zip up?
Hoodie.
I know. I think I'm the only one that picks zip up. I'm going to rethink this. Popsicle or ice cream?
Ice cream.
All right. Do you have a flavor?
Chocolate peanut butter.
Ooh. Do you actually put the peanut butter in the chocolate or does it come already mixed?
Yeah, I like it when it comes mixed.
I love that. Okay, last question, which seems to be a podcast favorite now, lipstick or lip gloss?
I would say lip gloss.
All right. Do you have a go-to?
No, honestly, whatever I bought that my sister recommended.
Okay. And what about lip gloss or lip balm?
I would probably say lip balm then. I love Aquaphor.
I love that. Oh, I love that. The kind of the jelly one?
Yes.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, because there's nothing worse than chapped lips, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I always am using that.
All right. Before we get started in your story of being a girl in sport, which we're super excited about, do you have any tips for homemade brownies?
I was hearing your guys' conversation. And I'm right with you guys. I am not the best baker at all. So sadly, I do not have any tips.
All right. Okay. So we'll rely on you for other information, but not for your baking ability. So again, so you are a senior, correct?
Yes.
So thank you so much. I know better than anybody what a full time of life this is for you, moving from indoor track to outdoor track with the extra competitions you're doing, plus the season of being a senior with prom and all the extras that come with that. So your time is so valuable and we so appreciate you giving us a little of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Fill us in. How did your story of being a girl in sport start?
Yeah, so it started when I was younger. We're like a running family. Both my parents love to run. They've done like half marathons, marathons. So I feel like I was introduced to running at a young age. I would do like the local 5K run, 6K run, or like 10K runs with like my mom and dad. So I was never very like competitive at them. I would just run it with them. And I feel like middle school, that's when I started actually running. My mom ran in high school and middle school. So she was like, just try running in middle school and see if you like cross country. And I ended up loving it. So I also did track. So my running definitely started in my middle school years. Alexa, that I was a cross country runner in high school. Samson was my coach. And I'm so happy that you're here on the pod to talk to you. We love talking to runners. So your running journey started pretty early. Can you kind of talk about the stages of your running journey, if you've had any major changes with it? Because when you start kind of so early with that, you can kind of change your how you approach running, how you approach racing. Can you talk about how it developed throughout your career so far? Yeah, definitely. So, middle school, I would definitely say it was kind of just more enjoying the sport, as in like not being super competitive. It was kind of like I was welcome to the sport and getting to know it. And it wasn't, I wasn't like competing for like a certain time. Like I was wanting to break like 6 minutes in the mile. Obviously, I was always been super competitive, but it was kind of just getting to know the sport. We didn't really do much running. So freshman year of high school, that's when I actually started doing the training that my coaches were giving me. I was building up my mileage, but I would say like freshman and sophomore year, I was kind of still like learning the running world. I was like just building up my mileage, doing my workouts. I feel like it was just like an average runner. And then definitely junior year and senior year, that's when I took my running to a different level. And I really just did all of the little things. I mean, I pushed myself harder in workouts. I took my easier days easier. I did all the little things that I've seen and heard about. And I feel like it definitely helped me push to a whole different level. Yeah. Can you talk in more detail about the little things you've mentioned? Because I know, especially in high school with so much going on, it can be like easier to skip over those things and just focus on mileage and just focus on consistency of running. Can you talk about the little changes or the additions to your schedule and workouts that allowed you to become the best runner today? Yeah, so a big part for me, I struggled with an eating disorder in the beginning of my high school career. So I was intentionally under fueling, and I feel like I just didn't see it was just a very stressful time for me. And I have recently learned that food is not the enemy, and that's actually what's going to make you be successful, and that's what's going to give you that like extra push in the races or workouts, and honestly just give you energy to be able to do those certain things. And if you're feeling like you're like kind of in like a slug right now, like that extra energy is just going to help you even more than you think it might. So for me, food was the biggest thing that helped push, but a couple other close to seconds have been like hydration, recovery, and also mindset. Mindset's been a huge thing that I've been trying to work on, especially this year.
Thank you for being honest and vulnerable, to be honest with you. That's tough to talk about. I will tell you that one of the things I think we've come a long way in is having more open and healthy conversations surrounding body image and food and eating disorders and disordered eating, many different, you know, different descriptions and different variables, all equally as hard to navigate through. I feel like you had resources available to you to be able to navigate through those complex situations. But the other thing that I'm hearing is you feel coachable to me, is that you're open to understanding that you are an athlete and that there are people out there who can help get you through or navigate through or coach you through situations that you may not be equipped for. Is that true, or do you think that open-mindedness helped you make your way through some of those?
Yeah, I would definitely say that open-mindedness did. It was a very, like, hard time, and obviously when you're in that, like, point of state, you don't necessarily want help and you, like, just feel like what you're doing is the best, but I feel like in that times when you realize that you want to get better and not just in your sport, but maybe just in life in general, you don't wanna keep on going in this reoccurring, like, circle. I feel like opening up and just, like, having like, for me, it was, like, my nutritionist and therapist and also, like, my coaches and parents, like, when they're all I would say, like, every single one of those people, like, when they're giving you tips and, like, helping, like, the only way to be able to push past, like, hard times is listening to what they're saying and actually, like, doing it, and then over time, it just starts getting easier, but the only way that that's gonna happen is if you just listen to it and try to push out those hard, like, voices and just, like, keep moving forward.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that that's one of the things that I find is tricky, and not with the clients that I work with, but also with some of the athletes that I coach, so separately, so on the team and individuals that I see. Sometimes there can be too many voices in your head, and one of the things that I think you keep coming back to is that you had a coach that you obviously respected, caretakers that were also intimately involved, and then the experts in their arena, the nutritionist and the therapist, who were all willing to stay within their zone and stay within their arena of expertise and not kind of step over each other. I sometimes think that's what can get tricky for athletes, is that when you have a voice that tends to be the loudest in the room and they're not willing to hear what other experts in their arena have to say. Do you think do you see that happening in other places, or how much value did that hold for you?
Yeah, I think it was like I saw obviously everyone wanted for me to be and perform my best and to be able to succeed. So I think it was just the fact that I mean, it did take me a little bit to understand that, but I think that the more I kept on like trying to understand that fully, I think that I just kept on realizing that they all want the same thing and they all want me to be at the best that I can.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing journey, right? I mean, this is not
Mhm.
something, I think that's the thing that with mental health, the people don't realize it is something you have to work on every day. It's not something that you've gone through therapy and all of a sudden you flip a switch and things are completely, back to baseline. I mean, it's something you have to intentionally work on every day. How does that fit into the rest of what you're doing? Creating the enough space for you to be able to work on your mental health.
Yeah, I just try making sure I am doing what's best for me. Obviously, everyone has different things that might work for them, but for me, I just try making sure that I'm staying up to track with like making sure I'm like pre-fueling and post-fueling and getting enough recovery. And if I'm feeling like stressed, like maybe like journaling it out or just making sure that like mentally I'm doing okay because if I'm not doing mentally okay, then it's gonna show up, like, physically.
Yeah, I think that's true. They go hand in hand, right? That mind body connection is something that is so real. You talked about journaling. Do you ever use tools like breath work or yoga or meditation? Are those things that can add value to you?
Yeah, I have started doing that. I feel like, especially like I was saying this year, I've been trying to just enjoy, like, my senior year and not getting so worked up, like, for track meets and, like, trying to just, like, enjoy it and keep trying to get better each meet. So, a big thing has definitely been, like, the relaxation part of it and,
Mm.
like, the journaling and just, like, trying to get my thoughts out before so that I'm not so fixated on, like, thinking about it during my race or, like, before my race.
Yeah, I think that's right. Let's talk a little bit about specifically cross country and track. So let's talk about optimizing training And from my perspective, I think being coachable is the start of optimizing training. Is that if you're being a good teammate, I think it gives you opportunity. I think that sometimes what happens, particularly with distance runners, is that they think more is better. And I'm really trying to emphasize to my athletes that quality over quantity is going to win 100% of the time. How do you help? How does that mentality, is that something you use? Is that helpful to you? Is that something your team does?
Yeah, that is something. I used to think the same thing. I would think that the more I do, the better I'm going to get.
Yeah.
But I've learned over time that it's honestly at the end of the day, you're just overdoing it and it's just gonna lead your body to being burnt out and like stressed and like, yeah, maybe it might be working for you in the beginning of the season, but if like you keep on doing it, your body's just gonna get tired and like physically and mentally, you're gonna get tired too. No one wants to be working so hard that you're exhausted every single day. So I feel like we do a nice job on my team to not do that. We really take our like we know we don't exceed high mileage. We're all like mid mileage and
Mm,
we make sure that we're really like taking the days as they're supposed to be. Like I was saying, the hard days hard, easy days easy.
yeah,
We take rest days, we do cross training days. So I think all of that's very important.
I agree. So I'm trying to phrase this question in a way that's not going to be offensive to people that are listening. But how does somebody who is an exceptional, high performing athlete like you remain humble enough to be coachable, to listen to coaches when they're telling, I mean, they want you to perform at your best, but they also want you to thrive and survive from both physically and mentally for the long term. So how does someone like you remain humble enough to be coachable, to know that, okay, what the coach is saying or what my team is saying is enough, whatever that is. This is that I need to be fueling, I need to be sleeping, I need to not be doing too many miles, I need to be doing this mobility and this strength training and this. How does that happen? Is that something that came super easy for you? Is it something that you learned along the way? Were you brought up that way? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I do feel like I learned it a little bit more over time, but I feel like from the start I was very coachable. I have like the sweetest coaches. They care like deeply about us and I feel like over these past 4 years I definitely have created like a strong connection and I honestly like think they are like a second hand of parents now for me and my team, and I know at the end of the day, they know what they're doing. They've coached many other athletes that have done really well in their running careers. So, I know at the end of the day, even though it might be like, "Oh, I wish I could do this," or "I feel like I should do this," I know that they are the experts. They know what they're talking about, and they always say they're teaching us and so that we're gonna peak at the right moments.
Yes.
So, yeah, you just gotta let them do their thing and trust that the training that they're teaching you is going to work.
Yeah. So if you had to give a tip, and I'm not, to a high performing high school athlete that's out there that thinks that there might be a different or a better way, is there a tip or like a piece of advice that you would give an athlete that may be going down a road that isn't going to serve them well in the long run?
Yeah, I'd probably say that's a good question. Let's see. I'd probably just say, like, listen to your body, listen to what people around you are saying. You might not realize it yourself, but I definitely know that when I was going down the wrong like road, there was people around me telling me that what I was doing wasn't going to help me. And like people care about you. They don't want to see you fail.
Mm,
So I would definitely say listen to what other people have to say and like listen to your inner self too. Like if your body's feeling weak and if it's feeling like you don't have energy, you're obviously doing either too much or maybe eating too little. So there's definitely something. So you have to connect your body and mind together and really make sure that you're paying attention to it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's switch gears just a little bit and talk about the fundamentals. So, one of the things that I think can get tricky with distance runners is when we're talking about optimizing training, there's a lot of different levers that can be pulled, and you and I have touched on some of them throughout these conversations. But the one that I think people think that's pulled the most is the mileage, the long runs and the workouts. But when we're looking at things like mobility, strength training, like you're saying, sleep, fuel, socialization, so who you are outside of sport, how do you think it in fundamentals such as drills, which nobody likes to do drills, right? Or, or even like through the warm up or dynamics, just kind of like focusing on the fundamentals, which again, distance runners don't like to do. They just like to go out there and run. How can you like how can you speak to the audience that's out there that if you can focus on the other 70%, so not the miles, that it's going to serve you in the long run? And what are some of the things that your team does to hone in on those things other than the miles and the workouts that help you be a better athlete?
Yeah, so just like you were saying, I used to be there once. I would be the type of athlete, like freshman year, I was thinking like, okay, dynamics, like strides, lifting, this isn't going to be doing anything. It's just like extra work. But over the years, I've realized that that's actually what's going to be separating you from your competitors, or that's what's going to be making that difference year to year. So we definitely take dynamics and stretching, strides, very important. I lift like I'll do arms like 2 to 3 times a week, and I've started doing legs because that muscle like is important. You need that to be able to push. I've started stretching more than I've ever stretched in my life, but that's also important. Like your body needs to be like relaxed, and I've gotten like massages and seen chiropractors. It's like all that little things that maybe you might not think could be helping you. That's what's going to be adding to your performance.
Yeah, I agree. How do your coaches or the people that are in your arena, do they take a more human first approach, meaning they see you as Alexa with all your complexities, or do they take you're a high performing athlete and you're going to get this time for us? I'm assuming I know the answer to this, but I'm curious.
Yeah, no, they see me as Alexa. They always say, like, they don't care what type of whether you're running a 10-minute mile or a 4-minute mile, you're like the same person. And, they just want to help you grow. And their first job is to make sure you're doing okay. Like, they want to help you. And, like, in order to do that, they need to have you be at your best self.
Yeah, I agree. And that human first approach. So, talk to me about some of the things that you do outside of cross country and track. Clearly, I know you don't bake outside of cross country and track.
Yeah, definitely not. I wish I could, but yeah, no, I say that's my parents. But yeah, I like to go on walks. I just think it's so relaxing. I go on walks with my friends, family, or like I'll listen to music. It's just a good way to like de-stress. I also like to hang out with my friends. We like to like go to beaches or like go to the dunes during summer, which is super fun, which I think it's super important to have that like balance of your social life and running life, which I've tried to incorporate more because, you can't just have one thing be so like fixated on something.
Yeah, I completely agree. What kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to like all types of music. I'm like, my playlist is so scrambled with different types of music. It's like country, like sad music. It's a combination of everything.
I love that. And what about school? What's your favorite subject in school?
I would say my favorite subject would probably be math because I just feel like it's the most rewarding when I do good on like a test because math is definitely something that doesn't come easy to me. So when I do good, it just feels really good.
I love that. And what are you going to be studying at the University of Wisconsin?
Just like kind of what I was saying, I want to study health science because I want to become like a nutritionist because I want to help
Mm,
other athletes that also have struggled with underfueling or not knowing how to properly fuel.
that is absolutely incredible. Talk to us a little bit about the recruiting process. What was that like? Did you know right away that Wisconsin was the place for you? Fill us in there.
Yeah, so I started reaching out to colleges. I've always kind of knew I wanted to do a sport in college. I'm just a very athletic person. I like to be moving. So once I realized that running was my sport that I loved, I reached out to colleges and kind of just started doing research on colleges. I was pretty open to where I wanted to go. I didn't have a specific college in mind. Then during my junior year, I was doing unofficial, official visits, kind of just getting a feel, and that helped lower my top 5 choices, and then I had to let my deadline for a college was, in a week, and me in Wisconsin, we got in touch, me and the coach, and the week before I had to, let the top college know, and then I did an official visit that week, and as soon as I stepped on campus, I loved it. I just knew it was for me. The coach staff was amazing, the teammates were amazing. I love the way that she coaches, and she just reminded me, honestly, of my high school coach, which was super important because I think, yes, you want them to help be able to build you, but you need to have a good relationship with your coach as well. So it was just all the factors were what I were hit my standards on what I wanted, and I just knew that I could see myself there for the next 4 years.
So, is your coach in high school a girl?
Well, they're actually a married couple. So yeah, they yeah, the girl is the head track coach, and her husband is the head cross country coach, but for track, she focuses more on the sprinters, and then he does more distance.
That's amazing. And the head coach at Wisconsin is a woman?
Yes.
So talk to us about this. Caitlin and I love this conversation. So one of the things that we are passionate about Peak is educating not just athletes but coaches. We believe that there's more space in athletics for female coaches. We believe that they should have a larger voice. And I'm not sure you know, but actually the number of female head coaches since Title IX has actually gone down significantly as there's more money to be made in women's athletics. There's more men heading into that space. So there's actually fewer job opportunities, not more. So there's less women coaching in the head coach position in both high school and college than there was before Title IX. And we believe that that relationship is super important, particularly at the high school level, to have more open, transparent conversations about periods and are athletes getting periods, and if they're not getting periods, exactly to what you're saying, are they overtraining or under fueling? What's breast development like? Is it making them comfortable? What athletes feel like when they have their period? Are they still able to compete, or do they compete at a better level? Just having more open conversations. Do you think that's been impactful for you?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's nice. Like you mentioned Title IX, it's just funny. My head coach, Miss Haas, she loves Title IX. We celebrate it every year, and she's a
Love
very,
it.
very big fan. Yeah, she loves girls in sports. But yeah, I definitely think that it's an important thing. Most, I would say most athletes do feel more comfortable talking to a girl coach about their period and what you were saying, that kind of stuff. So I do think it's helpful when there is girl coaches because not just that, but they also understand it more because they went through it themselves. So they might have more knowledge on the topic as well.
Yeah, I agree. And more personal experience. It still can be a taboo conversation. I think it is getting a little better. I don't think it's exceptionally better. I'm pivoting here again. Did you lose your period when you were struggling with your eating disorder?
Yes, I did lose my period, and it was very hard because it's an annoying topic thing because it's not easy to get back all the time because it's
Completely. I was just going
yeah.
to ask you that. Yeah, it's hard.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because you don't necessarily want you don't wanna stop training. Running is something where you have to keep on, running. It's not like where you can take a while break and, then just start working go back to where you were, you have to then, start back up again, which is totally okay as well, but not all the time. That's the easiest thing to do. So it definitely was helpful with my nutritionist to help work ways up. I definitely increased my calories by a lot, and not just that, but like also food groups and learning how to properly post and pre-fuel and increasing that as well, because it matters the timing of when you're eating.
Yeah. Yeah. And period recovery is hard. I have that conversation a lot with athletes. And then obviously when they are going through period recovery with a nutritionist and a therapist, so having the right team in place, it is tough. And the interesting thing about the training piece is while running can impact period or loss of period, running or movement is also is mental health therapy. So
Right.
it is this kind of double-edged sword. So I know a lot of the new research and data is kind of looking at that when we're telling athletes who are in period recovery to stop moving. I mean, is that really from a mental health perspective beneficial? I mean, and you and I are neither of us are doctors, and this is a very individualized conversation, which is why it is so important to have a team with an expertise so they can work individually with all of your nuances to make sure that you, Alexa, or you, Stacy, or me, Anne Marie, are getting the health and wellness information that we need to be well and stay well. So I think that's super important. Do you track your period?
Yes, I will. I think in the beginning too, when it was kind of coming and going, I think it was we would track it to see if it was like on a normal cycle, and then if it would stay when I was training, because if it wasn't, then I knew that I was obviously not doing something right, because like they say, the first sign, if you don't have your period, then something's not right.
Yeah. And what people then again don't realize too is that that's the physical sign, the period. But then what happens from that is that's where you start to get more injuries, particularly bone stress injuries, because the estrogen is not fueling the bones. And I think that's where there's a lot of misinformation. So, and that's why you see higher incidence of stress related disorders in athletes who are struggling with fueling. So, what are some of your super easy, convenient pre and post nutrition hacks or tips or fuels that you use to keep you well fueled?
Yeah, so something that's been important for me is the pre-fueling. I used to not do it, and I would feel so weak during practices, and my times just kept on getting worse. So pre-fueling is super important. But some things that I try aiming for at least 60 grams of carbs before any type of workout or run.
Nice.
Yeah, so I will do some of my favorite things have been like That's It bars, or like these rice crisps things. They're kinda like rice cakes, but they have more carbs in them. I like to do pretzels. So I kinda or I do, like, the not no sugar Gatorade before real Gatorade,
Sure.
and because that has some carbs in it. So it kinda just depends on, like, what workout I'm doing, but I'll likely compare or put together, like, 2 or 3 of those to try getting to my target goal of carbs. And then for post fuel, I always do a chocolate milk, and then if we have yoga that day or something, then I try to, and I know I'm not gonna have dinner for a little bit later, I try to pair it with, like, a banana or something, so it's a little bit more carbs.
Love that. I love that we do yoga too. Caitlin can tell you when I started that with Libertyville High School about 17 years ago, and I think it's one of the athletes' favorite things. Maybe I'm totally making that up. But do you love the yoga piece that you do, Alexa?
Yeah, honestly, I do. Like, it's honestly relaxing. Like, yes, it takes up a little bit of our day after our workout, but at the end of the day, too, like, I just feel so much better because then it just stretches out everything, and it's stretching that I don't have to do at home, and it's like mandatory, and it honestly feels nice and it's relaxing. We get to lay down on the ground like for 10 minutes sometimes, and it's just nice to de-stress.
What do you think, Caitlin?
Oh, I trust me, there were some days I was only going for the yoga. I absolutely I loved it.
And I also really liked pairing kind of working on mindfulness with yoga. I know, Samson, you kind of combined that while we were practicing yoga. Alexa, does your coach use yoga to set mental goals or clear your head, or is there any talk of like mentality while you're practicing yoga?
Yeah, I feel like, which I know I do and a couple of the other girls do as well, we like will visualize our races while we are laying down. It's like a dark room. They have like light music, and we're very big on visualizing before we do something, even if it's a workout too. So yeah, we'll visualize and try to picture ourselves in the moment.
Love that. Caitlin, what else do you have for Alexa before we get wound down?
Yeah, Alexa, I wanted to ask if you have what are your thoughts going into kind of a new season of your life when you start school and you start collegiate running next year? What are your, like, how are you feeling overall? I know that's kind of a crazy question, but wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet the other girls that are committed, and I'm excited to start working with my new coach. And something that just like helped me, I've never been someone who's like at the top. I started off my high school at the bottom and I was able to work my way up. And I think that it's just an important thing to remember. And I'm hoping to be able to do the same for college as well.
Absolutely. Well, we are so excited for you, and we're going to be cheering you on the entire way.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alexa, thank you for your time and your kindness and your transparency and your willingness to be here. We are literally fueled by humans like you who are willing to share their stories. And I do want to pause for just a minute because you brought this up at the beginning when you were talking about your freshman and sophomore year, and now you're being super both humble and realistic and reflective when you're talking about what's next in college. And just to kind of remember that this peaking too early, or that somehow athletics is this linear progression, and that's not what happens. These are these stepping stones, and you need to build this firm foundation. I talk about it a lot, like the glue. You have to have all the glue in place to have everything else stick, and that it is this slow and steady progression, and that we can't be so I don't know what the word is. So like that the top is the only place you want to be. And it just feels to me that you're comfortable kind of sifting your way through that and building this foundation so you're able to peak at the right time. Am I reading too much into that?
No, you're totally right. I mean, I think that a lot of people, especially they see other like of their competitors getting good times, and like my coach always says, like don't worry about what other people are doing, only focus on yourself. Like you don't know what type of training they're doing. You don't know, they could be doing the most right now and then they're going to go downhill. Like, just trust the process and keep believing in yourself and like build that strong positive mindset, because like that's honestly what's going to like help you. You can't be worrying about what other people are going to do because you don't know what they're doing right now.
Amen. Absolutely. Even if you're following them on Strava.
Yeah.
Which is a completely different conversation, which we can save for another time. Again, thank you everybody who's taking the time out of their day to listen. So whether you're cleaning your room or taking a walk like Alexa likes to do, we are so glad that you are here. We are powered by humans like you who are willing to share our episodes with coaches, athletes, and caretakers you love. So until next time, have an awesome day, and we'll see you back at Peak the Pod.